All right, I'm starting a new series here, which is the first episode, but it's really the second episode because I did a video a long time ago about Dio Strange Highways, and I thought that was like an underrated album in his discography. But I never really followed up on that. I never really did more videos, and I do lots of rock videos. I want to make more of those. So I only did like the worst, the best stuff, and like every one on my list, or always an album I thought was underrated, and it'd get like the comments said, "I can't believe you put that album that high." Well, I'm gonna do a whole series of videos of those albums, and I'll go back and renumber the Dio one. That's actually episode number 1. This is gonna be episode number 2. We're gonna do Black Sabbath's underrated album. I think you should check out. Okay, because if you do like their worst album or something like that, it always gets somebody's panties in a bunch. When you talk about something positive, you're always gonna get your little thumbs up on that stuff, and you're gonna get all the crazy people. They're not gonna comment. We don't want to hear from them. So my pick is Black Sabbath, The Eternal Idol. I forgot exactly what number I put it at. But there's some other dark horses that were on my list, like Dehumanizer and Born Again. I don't think they're that underrated these days anymore because I think people have found their awesomeness. Especially with Dehumanizer. I think over the years people really started to appreciate that one. Same with like Born Again too. But Eternal Idol, the Tony Martin years, I think are highly underrated. I actually think every Black Sabbath album post Ozzy is underrated, and even Never Say Die was underrated. But we gotta narrow it down, so we're gonna stick with The Eternal Idol, which I think is probably Tony Iommi's guitar playing is most underrated. Most people are just diehard Ozzy fans, or maybe even they throw in the Dio stuff, and then they don't listen to Black Sabbath beyond that. But then I'm thinking like, all right, if you like Black Sabbath '70s stuff, and even up through Mob Rules, were you ever really a Tony Iommi fan? I don't understand you skipping all the rest of his stuff because the riffs on this thing are sick. All right, starting my first time I ever heard anything from this era. It was hard to find this kind of stuff in the early '90s. They weren't getting any airplay on the radio or nothing. Was this VHS tape, which was just a collection of music videos and some interviews like spliced in, which I thought that was really edited badly. It was like they have an interview with Ian Gillan, and it's about 30 seconds long. They fit what they do. Show up and ask him 2 questions? No, probably talk to him for like a half hour's worth of stuff. This video is like an hour long. But it was my first exposure to actually seeing Tony Martin stuff, other than reading about it in like history of music encyclopedias and stuff like that, which I would always look at in like Barnes and Nobles and Borders and all that stuff, and Walden Books. Remember Walden Books? This had The Shining. That was the first exposure to this album. Then the video was really sick. You see Black Sabbath performing at some stage somewhere, and then there's hot goth chicks with ravens flying around and stuff. It was real cool. I was like, I gotta get this album. It was nowhere to be found in stores in the early '90s. I was only collecting tapes because I didn't have a CD player. And when I got even a little bit older, when I was able to drive, had my own car, I only had a tape player in the car. CDs were like luxury items. But then a thing called Amazon came around, and I finally got internet in my house. One of the first albums, I think was the very first album I ever bought on Amazon, anything on Amazon, was Eternal Idol. This is my second copy. This is the remaster with bonus tracks and all that other stuff. Originally, it was recorded with Ray Gillan, and it was bootlegged for years and years and years because he did the tour, finished up the Seventh Star tour for Glenn Hughes because he got punched in the face by a roadie and broke his nose, couldn't sing, and he recorded the album. There's lots of management problems going on. He quit, joined Badlands, and then they brought in Tony Martin to re-record it. I'm gonna say they include that whole thing on here. Not just a bad sounding bootleg. It was like remixed, remastered, whatever. I prefer the Tony Martin stuff. Tony Martin actually absolutely killed it on this. Other than The Shining, which has one of my favorite Tony Iommi riffs ever, when he's coming out of the solo in the song do 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 do, heavy as hell, evil, loved it. That's what I'm saying. Are you ever really a Tony Iommi guitar fan? Because that was one of his sickest riffs. Then the second song on the album, Ancient Warrior. I wrote it down. 2 minutes 36 seconds in. That is the second most evilest riff. Ancient Warrior. Kind of slows it down, gets a little bit more evil. I like his 80s sound. This, production-wise, if you never heard this album, sounds a lot like the Seventh Star album. Almost kind of like a hair metal production, although it's Black Sabbath doing that, so it's not quite hair metal. Hard Life to Love. That was pretty. Well, there's another up-tempo rocker, which he did not. This is what drives me nuts about post-Sabbath stuff, like his two Iommi records and his other. What was it? There's the first solo album he did with all the guest stars. The one he did with Glenn Hughes, Fused. And then the one he released, another one with Glenn Hughes, which was a bunch of demos that they cleaned up later, re-released. There weren't any of the fast songs on there. This is when he was writing really killer fast songs. The up-tempo stuff. Glory Ride, kind of mid-tempo, badass song. Born to Lose, which was the best of the fast rockers on this thing. The next song on here was probably the sort of letdown, Nightmare, which they were supposed to put in Nightmare on Elm Street 3 soundtrack. Somehow their manager screwed that up. I didn't think it was that great of a song. Dream Warriors was way better. I don't know if it was going to be like the big theme of the movie, like Dream Warriors ended up being, the big breakout song, but it at least should have been on the soundtrack. But it's okay. That's the one. So Scarlet Pimpernel is like a little acoustic-y instrumental, which all Black Sabbath albums seem to have up through Tear. I don't remember. There wasn't anything on Dehumanizer and past that. They stopped doing it after there. Lost Forever. That's another fast rocker on. Ooh. Do I like that more? Or do I like Born to Lose better as the fast rocker? No, Lost Forever's got that midsection in there. I'm burning with fire. It's time to do. That's one of the hottest points on this album. All right, we're going for Lost Forever. And then Eternal Idol, the actual title track, big, long, epic song. Kind of like, I'd kind of put it like more of like a Sign of the Southern Cross sound to it. I'll actually say it's one of the weaker songs on there, and it kicks ass. And this one's got the bonus tracks. Black Moon, which was on Headless Cross, but this is a different recording. It was like a B-side. And then Some Kind of Woman, which sounds a lot like Van Halen's, let's say, A Hot for Teacher? Kinda? I don't know. That was another B-side. My original one was just a straight-up regular Warner Brothers release. Didn't have those. They were hard to find for years and years. Now I got them all here. And then the second disc is all the... I don't know if this is still available. It's got to be still available. It's got like all the songs with Ray Gillan on there. The sound quality on those are pretty good. They only did a short tour for this because I think it was everything. Their management was all like in a disaster. Live, they always played The Shining, which killed me that I didn't go see the 1995 tour. Nobody I know wanted to go see Black Sabbath with me then. That was before I would have ever thought of just going to a concert by myself, and I was probably like 17, 18 when that was on. I probably wouldn't have done that then. traveling all the way to New York City and stuff and back. But the tour that they did they played Glory Ride and Born to Lose and Shining, and then those songs were off the set list forever, and they just kept shining, which highlighted like old concerts from like late 80s, early 90s with Black Sabbath to me. To me! That said, also go listen to Cross Purposes. That album's pretty sick too. CDs for me were like luxury items back in the day because they were like $3-4 more than the tape. And I had to switch over to just strictly buying CDs, making minimum wage $5 an hour, working at Toys R Us back in the 90s. I'd buy a CD, then you'd have to also buy a blank tape in order so you could play that in your car. Because if you played your CD player in your car, hit a bump, it'd always skip. It sounded like crap. Then you hooked it up into there. Or you had that little tape thing that you stuck into that never seemed to work either. That was crap. Going back now, it's like, all right, if I spent the extra $3 or $4, I wouldn't have to go on back and rebuy just about everything I had on tape on CD. So that was a couple $1,000 more in life that was just wasted. But no, I like reacquiring stuff. I like collecting stuff. So, and yeah, I just wanted to make a video where I could just like talk off the top of my head, crank out some more rock videos. I already wrote a list of like 10 more of these I can do, so hopefully I can whip one out more regularly, maybe like once a month. Throw another one in, do another toy video, do a custom toy video, throw in another one of these rock videos, because the worst, the bests, they take me like 2-3 months, because I already burned through everything I've had in my discography that I can like whip off the top of my head. They're taking research, it's me like learning and listening to new things though, so if you like my rock stuff, we're going to do more of these, because I have fun doing these. Write, comment, like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. I always write you back. I like having good conversations with you all about this stuff. I know when I'm talking about things I usually brings out the other people who like the stuff too. It's not negative, and it always ends up being fun. So thank you for watching.